Hey again, this is Amanda. I'm going to try to be really quiet, much quieter than I've been in previous videos because as you can see, it's a little early on a Saturday and my family is still sleeping, so I hope you can hear me. But I'm going to show you how to export files. Now, this video is for my bokeh overlay course, but in this image, I didn't do any bokeh overlays. I'm just showing you how to export. So this is an image, this is just for fun. Obviously I was messing around here trying to be a little whimsical, so it's just a silly image that I decided to do. So let me show you how I would go ahead and export this. So you can see over here I've got all of my layers. The first thing that I'm going to do is save all of my layers to a PSD file. So I'm going to hit Shift Command S, or if it's easier for you, you can go to File, Save As, but for me, I just Shift Command S. And what I would do is save this to my external hard drive as a PSD file. I would leave this the same. If I really wanted to be awesome, I could do something like Christmas, Christmas tree, all three. I think I have one like that. I could do December, any keywords that I want to remember. And then I can go ahead here and save them to a folder or whatever, and go ahead and hit save, and it would save that PSD file. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm not quite done, but I would always save and make sure this layers is checked. That way you can open this up again and manipulate any of these layers. Let's say I found out later on that I had messed something up here. What I can do is I can just go back to whatever step I was doing something and then continue editing forward instead of starting with just the blank, just the very first raw image. So that's what I would do, is first save all of your layers. Once you've done that and you've got a good layered PSD file, then I am going to resize and sharpen. So to resize it, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to make a duplicate copy of this. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Image Duplicate. And you can create an action to do that, and I have an action. I'm just showing you the long way to do it. I would use an action, and I do use an action. Go ahead and check Duplicate Merged Layers Only, because we don't need all the layers again. Okay, so there's my merged file. It's still really huge. This is still a huge file. You would never want to post this to social media or your blog, just to give you an idea. And this is what I'm going to do next, is I'm going to change the image size. You can see here it's 4,000 by almost 6,000 pixels. That is gigantic. And the file size, it's huge. You don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is the width is always going to be 1080. I leave this guy checked so it links these, but always 1080 pixels in width. The length or the height does not matter at all. I don't change any of the rest of these. So I'm going to hit OK, and you can see that it's really small. That's only 25%. So if I hit 0, that's 101. I'm going to go down a little bit. And there's about 2/3 of its actual size, and this is about the size of my phone, I would say. So now that I've resized it, I'm going to sharpen it. So now what I'm going to do, and actually the funny thing is, on my layered file before, I already ran a high pass filter, so I've already done that step for this image, but assuming that I don't do that every time, and I don't usually, I'm going to go ahead and sharpen it now that I've resized it. Never sharpen and then resize. You've got to resize first and then sharpen, or else you will end up with really terribly over sharpened images, and that is my pet peeve. So now that I've reduced my image size, I'm going to Command J to duplicate my layer. I'm going to go to Filter, Other, High Pass. Now here I'm going to make sure that I don't have a lot of color coming through. So if you see here in the preview, you can see the yellows and the greens and the reds. Now, if I were going to sharpen that part of the image, I don't want to see any of that color coming through. So I would have to reduce my radius so that it's gray. So right about there, if I wanted to sharpen this part of the image. Now, I'm not going to sharpen that part of the image, so I don't really care that much. So I'm going to jack this up a little bit because the part of the image that I actually want to sharpen is going to be the stars and this star here. So I can put my little box over there and see. Now, I don't want any color coming through. There's not a lot of color. It's the night sky. But I don't like that haziness around there. You can see that only gets... I don't want to go too crazy here. I really don't. So I'm going to reduce that. I think I'm going to go with that, 7.6. And again, if it were a color part of the image, just make sure that that color is not bleeding through the gray. But I think that's what I'm going to go with. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go over here to my blend mode, and I'm going to choose soft light. Okay, and now you can hopefully see, oh yeah, that's a big difference. If I zoom in here, and again, that's a big difference. And I almost kind of like what it did on the background there, so maybe I'll leave that. I don't want to sharpen, and I'm just kind of looking around. I actually don't feel like I want to sharpen the stars in the sky. That's almost too much. But I do want this guy a little sharper, and I don't want the Christmas tree lights or the reflection sharper. So I think what I'm going to do is add a black mask. I'm going to hold down Option, hit my mask. I'm going to hit B for brush. My black brush is selected, so I'm going to hit X to change it to white. I'm going to use my left bracket key, reduce the size of my brush. I'm going to make that a little sharper. And like I said, I kind of liked what that did over here. But I think that's about it. My flow is 50. My opacity is 100. And again, I don't want to go too crazy. And it will totally depend on your image. A portrait of a face is going to be so different than this type of an image. So it really, really depends. There is no one size fits all for a high pass filter. You have to adjust it with every single image depending on the image. So let's say I'm happy with that. I want to rock with that. Then what I would do is I would save this. I'm going to hit Shift Command S or save as. Now I'm going to just save it to my desktop. I'm going to save this as a PNG. You could save it as a JPEG if you like. I prefer PNGs, and let's just say I'm fine with that. If I were putting this on my blog, I would do something like Swanee Christmas tree night or something like that, or whatever keywords you want to put in there so it's searchable. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. And now this pops up. This freaks people out. In a nutshell, you really don't want to use large file saving. I don't know why you would. I always go with medium. Let's say you wanted to do large file saving. Now you would need to know about a PNG is it's lossless. No matter, even if I selected this one, smallest file size, it's not going to lose quality. It is not going to lose quality, even though it's the smallest file size. The reason it takes so long to save is because it takes longer to put it in a smaller package without losing quality, okay? I don't care about file size, so I'm just going to go with medium. If you cared about file size, let's say if this was going to a blog, for example, you may want to go with smallest file size. It's just going to take a little longer. It's not a big deal. If you wanted to do large file size, which again, I don't know why you would, and this interlacing kind of freaks you out, here's what you need to know about interlacing. When an image is on a website and it is a large file and it's loading, and you've seen this before, either it will load from the top down or it will be pixelated and blurry at first and then become crisp and clear. So it's just loading up that large file size. Interlacing means that it will become clear from a pixelated form. If you don't select interlacing, what will happen is it will load from the top down. Okay, so that's the only thing that means. It's really not that scary. I just go ahead and go with medium. If I were putting this on my blog, I would probably want to go with smallest, and then we'll see how slow it really is. It's really not that slow. So I hit OK. You can see it here. It's really not that big of a deal. So that'll save. And again, I usually go with medium because, yeah, that probably would annoy me. Feed my dog, and I'm about to run out of batteries. The other thing I could do is I could go over here to my original layered image, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to X out of it. When I do that, I'm going to hit save, and here's what's going to happen when I hit save. Now, I don't always do this, so bear with me here. I'm going to hit save on this big layered file, okay? And then it's going to pop up in a stack in my Lightroom next to the original import of this image. So let's hope that this one's done. It is. This is a copy. Again, this is a smaller copy I've resized and sharpened. I'm going to X out of this. I'm going to hit don't save. I don't want to save that one. I only want to save this one. And so once this one is done, I used a lot of layers here, so it's taken a little bit of time. It will pop up in a stack next to this image here, which is the one that I did. So as you can see, I took a little creative license and got a little weird with it. I felt like it. So let's wait and see this finish saving. So it's finished saving. You can see here I have 1 of 2, 2 of 2. So you'll see that. This is my edit and then my original. And then that's how I saved from Photoshop.